Some deliveries are predictable: flowers, chocolates, gentle regrets. But others come wrapped in thorns and silence, arriving like clockwork under the cover of moonlight. Tonight's tale follows a florist, a client who never speaks, and a bloom that should never grow in winter. Be careful what you arrange, my dear. It might already be arranging you. This is the story of the full moon arrangement. Hugo had never met the customer. Every month, on the night before the full moon, the same order arrived via email. One arrangement, large, of wolfsbane only. No greenery, no filler, no scent enhancers. Just the poisonous purple blossoms, tightly packed in black wrapping, bound with twine. It was odd. Wolfsbane, or monkshood, as his botany books preferred, wasn't exactly a crowd pleaser. Beautiful, yes, but dangerous. Absorbed through the skin, fatal if ingested. Not the sort of thing you'd give a loved one unless you wanted them gone. Still, Hugo delivered. The money was good, and the address was local. He didn't know who lived at 12 Penumbra Lane. The house looked abandoned, covered windows, paint cracked, ivy too healthy for winter. Each time he arrived, the porch light would blink on before he stepped out of his van, motion activated maybe, but only for him. Never the raccoons. And he never saw the owner. Only a black-gloved hand would reach through the door. Always the same rhythm. Knock, wait, door opens a crack, hand out. Never a word, never a tip. By the 5th delivery, Hugo began wearing gloves. Handling the wolfsbane made him uneasy. By the 8th, he started locking his bedroom window at night. By the 11th, he was dreaming of forests where the trees bled sap and howls answered his thoughts. The 12th full moon fell on Halloween. That was the first time the arrangement came back. It arrived just after midnight. A soft knock at the rear door of his shop. He almost didn't answer. He almost told himself it was the wind. But curiosity always had claws. He opened it. Nothing. Except the box. Wrapped exactly as he'd done it. Twine, paper, even his handwriting. But now the flowers were wilted, blackened, and tucked beneath them, a note written in spindly cursive. You missed one. He stood in silence for a long time, then slammed the door, locked it, and threw the flowers in the dumpster behind the shop. He slept poorly. The next morning his shop smelled strange, metallic, sweet, like something rotting under perfume. He opened the cooler. Every bouquet was dead. Petals brown, water cloudy, stems curled like fists. Even the fake ones, display arrangements sealed in resin, had lost their colour. He didn't work that day, didn't answer his emails, didn't deliver anything. He checked the moon calendar. Next full moon, November 27th. He marked it in black ink. The next few weeks passed in odd silence. No more strange deliveries, no repeat notes. But something had shifted. His customers were tense. Neighbours kept their pets inside. He began waking with dirt beneath his fingernails and leaves in his bed. And one morning, he opened his front door to find paw prints on his welcome mat. Dog-sized, but too deep, too long. November 26th. The email arrived at 2:47 a.m. Same order, same address, no substitutions. But the attached note chilled him. A single line. This is the final moon. He almost didn't make it. He nearly deleted the message. Nearly convinced himself it was just an eccentric recluse with a dramatic streak. But something about those words, final moon, lodged behind his ribs like a thorn. He made the bouquet. Larger than usual. He didn't wear gloves this time. Penumbra Lane was darker than usual, no porch light. The air was still, cold. He climbed the steps slowly, knocked. The door opened instantly, wider than ever, and the hand was gone. Instead, a voice, low, calm, female. "Come in, Hugo." The room smelled like night and ash. Inside, candlelight, dried herbs, furniture draped in sheets. A fire smouldered in a brick hearth that hadn't been used in decades. And sitting in a velvet chair across the room was a woman in a long dark coat, pale, eyes like polished stone. She gestured to a stool near her. He didn't sit. She smiled faintly. "You've been faithful." He cleared his throat. "I just make flowers." She tilted her head. "Then why haven't you asked?" "Asked what?" "Why you're the only one I trust with wolfsbane." He stayed silent. Outside, the wind howled. She stood, removed one glove. Her hand was scarred. Claw marks, faded but deep. "I needed 12 cycles," she said. "One arrangement per moon, 12 deaths, 12 restorations, and on the 13th, she stepped closer. I stopped being what I was." He took a step back. "What were you?" Her eyes flashed yellow for an instant, just long enough. She looked tired. "Not all monsters enjoy it," she said softly. She opened the door. "Go, Hugo. You've done enough." He fled. Didn't remember driving home. Didn't sleep that night. But he didn't dream of blood or trees, just the quiet snap of petals. He never received another order. No one lived at 12 Penumbra Lane anymore. No one had for years, according to the city. And the house? It was gone. Empty lot. Overgrown. But sometimes on the night before the full moon, someone leaves a small bouquet on his doorstep. Always wolfsbane, always fresh, and never a note. Even the wildest beasts may wish to be tamed, dear one. But some rituals run deep, deeper than fur, deeper than guilt. So if someone asks for flowers under a full moon, arrange carefully. You might be tending more than petals. Such a terrible thing to happen. Don't you agree? There's something intimate about a mirror, isn't there? The way it watches you, learns you, offers you back to yourself, but just slightly wrong. Tonight's tale is about vanity, hunger, and the danger of staring too long. Because sometimes the reflection doesn't want to be you. It wants to be free. This is the story of mouths in the mirror. Evie never wanted a roommate. But London was expensive, and the attic flat above Berwick and Gray's bookshop wasn't exactly cheap, even if it was 2 floors of uneven staircases and 1 working radiator. Still, it was her home, and she hated the idea of sharing it. So when the landlord emailed asking if he could store a box of antiques, just for a month or 2, she only agreed because it meant she'd get £50 off rent. She didn't expect the box to contain a mirror. It was tucked in the corner of the sitting room, leaned against the wall, draped in yellowing canvas. She didn't touch it for days. But late one night, returning from work and soaked to the skin, she finally peeled the fabric back, intending to dry her hair and sneak a glance at the bags under her eyes. What stared back was lovely. Not beautiful, not flawless, but more. Eyes just a bit wider, hair glossier, jaw sharper, like her, perfected. She stared for a long time, then blinked, blushed, and went to bed. Over the next week she used it more and more. It wasn't vanity, she told herself. It was curiosity. The mirror made her feel better, centered. It was like seeing the best version of herself. And some mornings, that helped. Until it didn't. Day 8. Evie had overslept. Her alarm hadn't gone off, and she'd forgotten to plug in her phone. She threw on yesterday's clothes, splashed cold water on her face, and ran past the mirror, and stopped. Because the reflection hadn't moved. It was still brushing its hair. She froze, then blinked hard. Her reflection caught up, brushing its hair again in sync this time. A delay, maybe. A trick of tired eyes. She laughed it off, went to work, forgot about it, until it happened again. 2 nights later. This time, the reflection smiled first. Evie didn't laugh. She covered the mirror back up, moved it to the hallway, lit incense, told herself it was old glass, warped silver, a trick of angles and candlelight. But that night she dreamed of it, standing in her flat, wearing her face, mouth open too wide, and behind her, dozens of mouths, whispering. She woke to find the mirror uncovered. She was sure she'd taped it shut. The cloth was on the floor, damp and wrinkled like it had been sucked in from the inside. She emailed the landlord. He didn't reply. She tried to lift it, move it outside. It wouldn't budge, like it was rooted to the floorboards. She began to notice things. When she brushed her teeth, she tasted iron. Her tongue felt heavy. The mirror stayed clean, even when she stopped dusting. And her reflection. It was aging differently. Her own face grew pale, sunken. But the reflection was radiant, rosy-cheeked, more alive than her. On day 20, the mouths began to appear. At first, only in dreams, then in reflections. Not just in the mirror, but in her phone screen, her tea kettle, her laptop's black loading screen. They hovered behind her, smiling, muttering, teeth all too sharp. One night she tried to paint over it. The glass hissed, the paint peeled away on its own. She called a friend, told them she'd been having weird dreams. They offered to come stay the weekend. She said yes, and then the next day, the friend texted to say they couldn't. Something came up. Evie never told them, but she knew they'd never sent that message. By Halloween, she was pale as wax and hardly sleeping. The reflection had begun moving when she wasn't. Sometimes it would follow her with its eyes. Sometimes it would mouth things she couldn't hear. Once, it put its hand to the glass and pressed until a hairline crack bloomed outward, like the mirror itself was skin. She tried smashing it, with a hammer, with a fire poker, with a brick. Nothing worked. Each time the glass rippled like water, absorbed the impact, then stilled. She tried photographing it. The photos came back blank, or worse. In one she wasn't there at all, in another she was, but smiling, even though she hadn't been. She stopped going outside. Her voice changed, lower, hungrier. Sometimes when she walked past other mirrors she didn't see herself. The mouths got louder. They hissed her name, told her she was almost ready. Then one night, as the full moon passed overhead, the reflection leaned close to the glass and whispered, "Let me out. Just once." Evie shook her head. The mouths smiled. "You already said yes." The next morning, the landlord came by to collect the antique. He found the sitting room empty. No sign of Evie. Just the mirror, and in it, a girl standing alone with shining hair and perfect eyes, smiling sweetly. Behind her, dozens of whispering mouths, all shaped like hers. Some reflections are too flattering to be true. Some mirrors never want to let go. So next time you check your face before heading out, count your mouths, dear. And if one more smiles back than you remember having, run. Such a terrible thing to happen. Don't you agree? Some names echo louder than others, especially when written in ink not meant for the living. Tonight's tale concerns a signature, not just a name, but a binding. Because the dead, you see, do not appreciate forgeries. So light your candle carefully, dear one. This is the story of the mummy's signature. Benjamin Trask didn't believe in curses, which made him perfect for the job. He'd been hired on contract, 1 month only, to help catalogue and digitise the recently acquired Sarrazine collection. A cache of Middle Kingdom papyri, fragments, canopic lids, and 3 unusually intact linen-wrapped scrolls. The University Museum had plans for a major exhibit, but they needed everything scanned, translated, tagged and watermarked before Halloween. Ben was cheap, fast and specialised in forgotten languages. he was also reckless. The scrolls had no listed origin point, only a box number and a warning label in red. Unstable surface, do not unwrap. Naturally, he unwrapped one. Carefully, yes. Lovingly, but still. Inside was not papyrus. Not exactly. The fibres had the texture of human hair and the faint scent of decay. But more disturbing was the ink, black and glistening, which shimmered on the surface like it was still drying. It wasn't hieratic or demotic script. It wasn't any script he recognised. But it looked like writing. Symbols arranged in strange vertical stacks like names turned inward. He transcribed them anyway, copied them by hand into his notebook, even signed one, just to see. That night his reflection didn't blink with him. He dismissed it. Old museum lighting, new glasses. But the next morning he found his name added to the scroll he'd copied. In English. Same signature, same curl on the B. His pen still worked. The ink in his notebook still shimmered. But when he tried to erase the line, it bled. He didn't tell the team. Not when the second scroll began unwrapping itself. Not when he found loose linen strips folded beneath his desk. Not even when his shoes filled with sand overnight. He'd seen weird things. He was a researcher. Sometimes history breathed back. But by the third week, the museum began to rot. One intern lost a fingernail while brushing debris from a cracked urn. It turned black and fell off within hours. Another developed a cough that sounded dry, papery, like parchment tearing. The senior archivist quit abruptly after claiming her keyboard had tried to bite her. Ben said nothing, until the walls began to whisper. They called him Sahuti. He didn't know what it meant, but it echoed inside his skull like it had always been there. He stopped sleeping. His dreams were too loud, always the same. Endless sand, a hollow crypt, and rows of canopic jars with human faces, all mouthing his name. October 30th. He came in early. The security lights were off. The exhibit cases had all fogged from the inside, like someone had breathed on the glass. And on each panel, written in that same shimmering ink, was a single name, Benjamin Trask. He turned to leave, but the hall behind him had shifted. Longer, smoother, cold. And something moved inside the sealed sarcophagus at the far end of the room. He ran, locked himself in the document prep room, opened his notebook, flipped to the page with the copied symbols. They glowed faintly, and now there were more of them. New names, all in his handwriting. Colleagues, friends, his parents, himself again. He tried burning the page. It didn't catch. The fire went around the ink, like it knew. He emailed the curator, said he was sick, went home, didn't sleep, didn't eat, just watched the mirror. Where his face had begun to change, hollowed out, eyes sunken. Skin, stretching. October 31st. The museum opened the new exhibit, the Sarrazin collection, unwrapped and restored. The third scroll had vanished. So had Ben. No one spoke of it. No one knew why the security footage for his final night was blank. Just 30 minutes of static. Then a single frame. Ben, standing still in front of the open sarcophagus, smiling. The notebook was found in his apartment, still open, still wet. The last page was written in a new language. Translated roughly, it said, "I bear the names now. I carry the breath." A week later, a museum visitor knocked over a display case. Just a slip, a careless elbow. The case cracked, and inside the glass, in that same black ink, 3 new names appeared, all spelled perfectly. The security guard's badge, the curator's signature, and the child who had screamed first. Some languages are not learned. They are inherited. Some signatures bind more than documents. So if ever you are tempted to trace the name of the dead, Be sure they haven't left you space to write your own. Such a terrible thing to happen. Don't you agree? The fields are quiet at night, empty, peaceful. But peace is often a warning, not a comfort. And those things nailed to wooden posts with stitched smiles and button eyes. Some were never meant to scare off birds. Some are watching the wrong direction. So take a walk through the corn, won't you? Just mind your breath. This is the story of the scarecrow's breath. Logan Keats had a problem with other people's property. Not stealing exactly, but trespassing, messing with things he shouldn't. That was a sport. Halloween was his championship season. He and his friends, Owen, Caleb and Rhea, had a tradition. Each year they picked a new target. Someone's over-the-top decorations, a haunted hayride, the prize-winning pumpkin at the county fair. It was never about damage, just disruption. Mischief. This year's target was a scarecrow. It stood at the edge of O'Sullivan's cornfield, just off the county road. Old, classic. Straw hat, denim overalls, stitched burlap face, but with one twist, a note pinned to its chest, handwritten and faded. Do not remove, do not touch, do not breathe. Which to Logan was basically a dare. The plan was simple. Midnight. Cut through the ditch. Take a selfie with the scarecrow. Maybe knock its hat off. Nothing major. Owen brought a flashlight. Rhea filmed on her phone. Caleb tagged along half awake, sipping an energy drink and yawning between curses. Logan took the lead. The field was quiet. Not a cricket, not a breeze. The corn was taller than it had been last week. Too tall for late October. The stalks had gone grey, not brown, as if frostbitten. But the scarecrow still stood, right where the gravel shoulder met the crops. It was taller than they expected. 7 feet easy, thick arms, stuffed full. Its head tilted slightly, like it was listening. The stitched mouth curved upward, but only barely. Its eyes were mismatched buttons. One black, one bone white. Creepy, Owen muttered. Rhea grinned. It's kind of perfect. Caleb stayed by the road. Logan stepped close. The note was pinned right across the chest. The writing was shaky, faint, still readable. Do not remove, do not touch, do not breathe. He laughed, then tore it down. The moment the paper left the burlap, the air shifted. It wasn't sound, more like pressure, like someone sucking in breath behind your ear. Logan paused, then turned to his friends, grinning. Boo! That's when the scarecrow exhaled. No one else heard it. But Logan felt it, a warm, wet gust of air against the back of his neck. He spun, no one there. But something had changed in the stitching of the mouth. It looked wider, hungrier. Let's go, he said, suddenly annoyed. I got the shot. They left the field, but the field didn't leave them. That night, Logan dreamed of straw in his throat, of dirt under his fingernails, of standing perfectly still while crows perched on his shoulders and pecked at his cheeks. He woke up gagging. There was hay in his mouth. The next day, he couldn't stop coughing. His skin itched. He skipped school. Told his mum it was a cold. She bought it until he vomited twine into the sink. Rhea came over that evening. Your video's gone, she said. He blinked. What? The scarecrow clip. Deleted itself. From my phone, from the cloud, I'm everywhere. She showed him. There was only black static where the video had been. Logan opened his phone. The selfie was gone too. In its place, a new image, a photo taken from behind him, of the scarecrow, looking down at the back of his head. He didn't sleep that night. His skin was dry, cracked at the elbows. When he scratched, something flaked off that wasn't skin. Owen texted at 2 a.m. Yo, I had a nightmare. That thing was in my room. Caleb never replied. They met at the edge of the field the next evening. All 4 of them, barely speaking. The The scarecrow was gone, no post, no hat, no patch of trampled grass, just grey corn. "I think we broke a rule," Rhea whispered. Logan said nothing. He was staring at the sky. There were no stars. That night he stayed awake. Every time he blinked, he saw rows of corn, and something walking between them. Not human, not anymore. The following morning, Caleb was missing. Police blamed it on drugs, a runaway, but Logan knew. He walked back to the field, alone. The corn was rotting now, reeking, but something stood at the centre. Not the scarecrow, not anymore. It was Caleb, taller, stitched at the joints, burlap over the face, button eyes. Logan ran, made it halfway home before collapsing. He couldn't breathe. There was straw in his lungs. He could feel it scratching the inside of his throat, growing longer. His mother found him convulsing on the kitchen floor. He survived, but only just. Doctors said it was an allergic reaction, but his blood work showed plant matter. Foreign cells, non-human. Rhea disappeared next. Her phone was found at the base of a telephone pole. The last video on it? A field. Empty. Then a whisper. "Don't breathe." Halloween night. Logan walked into the field, alone again. He wasn't coughing anymore. He didn't itch. He felt ready. The air around him trembled. He stepped into the clearing. 3 scarecrows stood there now. He joined them and breathed in. They say you can hear it if you stand too close to the corn on a windless night. That long, dry exhale. Not the wind, not the birds. Something else. Something remembering breath. Some mischief grows roots, my dear, and some warnings are more than just words. So if you find a scarecrow standing where no one should be, don't touch it, don't speak to it, and above all, don't breathe. Such a terrible thing to happen, don't you agree? Masks are curious things, aren't they? We wear them for fun, for safety, sometimes even for truth. But tonight's mask was not made for the living. It remembers every wearer, and it never forgets a face, even if the face has forgotten itself. So step carefully into the party, dear one, and be sure the mask you wear is truly yours. This is the story of the Mask of Hollow Hill. No one remembered inviting Mitch to the party. Not exactly. He wasn't from Hollow Hill. He didn't go to school there. He didn't know the shortcuts through the quarry or the trick to turning the water tap behind the general store. But he showed up anyway, on Halloween night in costume, smiling like he'd always been part of the group. And no one questioned it, not at first. It was the last Halloween party at Briar House. The land had been sold. The big Victorian estate on the edge of Hollow Hill was set to be demolished in November. So this year's bash, hosted by Nora Clemens, the senior class president, was less a costume party and more a farewell ritual. Everyone came. Costumes ranged from the lazy to the elaborate. Skeleton suits, witches, sexy plumbers, a guy wrapped in tin foil pretending to be a baked potato. Mitch arrived in a mask. No one remembered what the rest of his costume looked like, just the mask. It was beautiful, handmade, pale wood, cracked with age but perfectly symmetrical. The mouth carved into a soft smile, the brows tilted in a way that made it seem either sad or amused. No one knew where he'd gotten it. He said it came with the house. That was the first weird thing. The second was how well he fit in. Mitch remembered everyone's names, knew who dated who, which teachers gave the most homework, which trails led to the quarry, and which led somewhere else. By midnight, no one remembered not knowing him. Nora noticed first. Not that he was strange, but that everyone else had changed slightly. Lizzie's voice was deeper. Matt was left-handed now. The twin brothers, Blake and Sean, couldn't remember who was older anymore. It was little things, hair parts, accent shifts, laughs that didn't quite match the faces. The only person who hadn't changed was Mitch. At 12:33 a.m., the power went out. A groan moved through the crowd. Phones came out. Candles were lit. But Mitch was already gone. Someone thought they saw him go upstairs. Someone else said he went out back. Nora went looking. She found the mask first, sitting alone on a windowsill in the study. Its expression had changed, more neutral now, less smile, more waiting. She picked it up and felt watched. The air behind her shifted. She turned. Nothing. Turned back. The mask was gone. She rejoined the party, shaken. Mitch was back, laughing with friends, maskless. She said nothing, but something inside her itched. The next morning, most of the party-goers reported the same dream. A masked figure, walking slowly through the woods, whistling a tune no one could name. The dream ended at a mirror, but the reflection showed a different face every time. Over the next week, things got worse. Emily Bryce forgot her mother's name. Julian forgot he'd been adopted. 2 students withdrew from school, citing severe dissociation. And Nora stopped recognizing herself in photos. She found the mask again on November 6th, wrapped in tissue inside her school locker. No one saw who put it there. There was no note, just the faintest scent of cedar and smoke. That night she put it on, only for a second, just to see. The next morning she knew things she shouldn't. The real names of people who only went by nicknames. The exact number of steps between Hollow Hill and the cemetery on the ridge. And most of all, that Mitch had never taken the mask off. He wasn't a student. He wasn't anyone. He was the mask's last wearer. And now it was looking for a new one. She burned it in her backyard fire pit, watched the wood crackle and hiss, watched it blacken. She didn't sleep. The next morning the ashes were gone. Her front porch light was shattered, and scratched into the door was one sentence. I remember you. The school cancelled classes that week. Nora stopped answering texts, started hearing her name in static, saw her own face blinking at her from reflections where she wasn't looking. On Halloween night 1 year later, she received a package, no return address. Inside, a mask, not wood this time, paper mache, wet to the touch. It had no mouth, only eye holes. And inside each hole, a reflection of her, but younger. Some say Nora put it on, some say she moved away. The truth is harder to track. No one remembers her now. But the mask reappears. Every Halloween. Somewhere near Hollow Hill, each time with a new expression and someone else's eyes. We wear masks to hide, but sometimes the mask wears us. And once it knows your name, dear one, it will never forget your face. So next time someone new arrives at your party, smiling, familiar, already known, be sure to ask, who invited you? Such a terrible thing to happen, don't you agree? Some candies aren't made in factories. Some are stirred in cauldrons, steeped in secrets and wrapped in riddles. And once eaten, well, they do more than rot your teeth. Tonight's tale is about a boy, a bag of candy, and a Halloween that changed everything. One piece at a time. This is the story of Candy Cornered. It started with a mix-up. Carter Wilkes had finished his Halloween route. Pillowcase full, flashlight dying, sneakers soaked from wet leaves. His little brother Max had pooped out early. Cold, tired, wanted to go home and watch cartoons. Carter was 12, Max was 8. Their mum had let him walk the last few blocks alone, so long as he stayed on the lit streets. He hit every house on Sycamore and all of Willow Court before circling back home. When he got there, 2 identical pillowcases sat by the front door. One was his, one was Max's. Or so he thought. He grabbed the heavier one and dumped it out in the living room. It was full. But not with the usual mix. No brand name wrappers, no tiny chocolate bars or lollipops. Just one kind of candy. Candy corn. Dozens of them, wrapped individually in crinkled black wax paper, each with a tiny orange sticker that simply read, "Eat me." Carter blinked. He hated candy corn. Max loved it. "Dude!" he called toward the hallway. "We switched bags." No answer. He picked one up, sniffed, smelled like cinnamon and something else. Almost smoky. He unwrapped it, popped it in. It was warm, like it had just been made, soft, syrupy, buttery, and oddly good. He reached for another. By bedtime, he'd eaten a dozen. By morning, the neighborhood was smaller. It wasn't obvious at first. The street looked off. Houses closer together. Fewer cars parked along the curb. The Johnsons' mailbox was gone. So was the Simmons' decorative ghost. Carter chalked it up to Halloween cleanup, until lunch when Max asked, "Where's the church?" Carter blinked. "What church?" Max frowned. "The one next to school, with the big bell." "There's no—" he started, then stopped. Because there had been. He remembered it now, but it wasn't there anymore, just a parking lot. That night, Carter examined the candy. He'd eaten 17 pieces. He counted the rest. There were 31. He ate another. And the fire station vanished. Carter didn't know how he knew, but he knew. Each candy did something, erased something, from the town, from memory, from reality. He tried to stop, but the flavor, it was better each time, smoother, sweeter. The warmth spread further. By the 24th piece, he could feel it in his spine. People started acting strange, forgetting things. Names, addresses, birthdays. Max called their mum Auntie at breakfast. Their neighbour, Mr. Phelps, stared blankly when asked how long he'd lived on the street. Carter tried to warn someone. He brought the candy to his friend Nate's house. Nate wasn't there. His house wasn't there. Just a mailbox on an empty lot. He went to the library. The building was smaller, fewer shelves, half the books missing. He opened a local map. Holloway Elementary, gone. City Hall, gone. Cemetery, gone. There were 7 candies left. He threw them in the trash, burned them with a lighter. The fire sparked, then vanished. The wax was untouched. The next day, Max was gone. His mum didn't notice. There was only one bedroom, only one toothbrush, only one pillowcase on Halloween night. Carter searched for help. The town was nearly gone. Blocks folded inward. Stores blinked out like dying bulbs. People wandered, dazed. Some didn't speak anymore. Others just wept. He returned home. There were 5 candies left. He stared at them. His name was harder to remember. The taste of water felt foreign. Even his own face in the mirror looked borrowed. He made a choice. He walked to the tallest hill at the edge of town. The wind was heavy with burning leaves. He unwrapped one candy, bit down. The sky went dark. 4 left. He turned slowly. Behind him, where the town had been, only cornfields, stretching endlessly, row after row. A voice called from behind, faint, cracking. "Carter?" He turned. It was Max, but younger, 7, 6, eyes blank, skin pale, holding a wax-wrapped candy. "Did you eat yours too?" Max asked. Carter stepped back. "You shouldn't be here." Max smiled. "We all ate ours." 3 left. He ran. Through the corn, through the wind. The rows closed in. He tripped, fell hard. The candy spilled from his pocket. 3, 2, 1, then none. When he opened his eyes, he was back in the living room. Halloween night, pillowcase full beside him. Mom cooking dinner in the kitchen. Max calling him from the hallway. Everything normal. Except there was only one type of candy in the bag. Candy corn, individually wrapped, with one sticker. "Welcome back." "Sweet things leave stains, dear, and some tastes you never lose. So if your candy bag ever looks too perfect, count carefully, and maybe, just maybe, leave the last piece uneaten. Such a terrible thing to happen, don't you agree? There are saints made of wood and saints made of stone, but some saints are hollow. They pray with their mouths open but never move, never judge, never forgive. And that silence, my dear, is not mercy. It's waiting. Tonight's tale is a confession of sorts, one never spoken aloud. This is the story of the Hollow Saint. Every small town has that one church. Not the big, well-kept one with the coffee mornings and choir. The other one. The one that no one attends anymore. That smells like mildew and forgotten incense. That keeps its doors unlocked, even when the sign says, closed. St. Avila's Chapel sat at the edge of Greenwood Cemetery. It hadn't held service in 20 years. It leaned slightly to the left, and at its centre, above the altar, where a cross or crucifix might normally stand, was a statue of the Hollow Saint. No one remembered putting it there. It didn't appear in any photos before 1987. But it had always been there, watching. Talia Cole had laughed at it the first time she saw it. She was 9. Her dad had taken her to a community clean-up day, rake the leaves, fix the fence, sweep the chapel floors. The statue unnerved everyone, thin, robed, head bowed, mouth open, but she found it funny. Looks like it's screaming, she'd said, or waiting for a snack. Her dad didn't laugh. He only said, "We don't joke in front of the saint." She asked him once what the saint was for. He shrugged. "No one knows. People leave offerings. Sometimes prayers." "What kind of prayers?" "The kind you don't say out loud." Years passed. The town forgot Saint. Avila's almost entirely, except for Talia. She never stopped visiting. Not often, but enough. She never told anyone why. She couldn't have explained it herself. It was just quiet in there. Quiet in a way the world never was. No buzz, no pressure. The statue never looked at her, not exactly. But it listened. And sometimes, that was enough. Then came October 31st, senior year. Talia and her friends, Cam, Bree and Eli, had been drinking. Nothing wild. Just pocket flasks and fake IDs and the thrill of being 17 and cruel. They ended up near the cemetery around midnight. Cam said, "Let's go visit your boyfriend, the Screaming Saint." Talia laughed. "He never screams." Bree giggled. "Maybe he moans." They went inside. The door creaked. The moonlight filtered through broken stained glass. The saint stood in shadow, mouth open wide, waiting. They started as jokes, fake confessions. "Forgive me, Hollow Daddy, for I've sinned," Bree whispered. "I stole Cam's vape," Eli added. Talia felt her skin go cold. "Guys, stop." Cam pulled out his phone, snapped a selfie in front of the statue. No harm done. Flash, light, click. Then came the sound. Not loud, just wet, like something shifting inside old stone. They froze. The statue's mouth twitched, only once. They bolted, laughed it off in the parking lot. But Talia didn't sleep that night because in her dreams the statue followed her, closer each time. The next morning, Cam posted the photo online. Caption, "Open wide." Within minutes, his phone bricked, wouldn't turn on. When he tried using his mum's laptop, it froze. When he printed the photo, the statue's face was gone. Only a wide open mouth remained. That night, Cam disappeared. His house locked. Car in the drive. No sign of forced entry. Just his shoes. Sitting neatly at the edge of his bed. And in the kitchen, a smear of dust shaped like praying hands. The police questioned everyone. Talia didn't tell them about the statue. She tried to forget. Tried to pretend it was coincidence. Until she found Bree 2 days later. Sitting in the chapel, mouth open, eyes wide, stone dust on her lips. Bree wouldn't speak, wouldn't move, just sat, breathing but different, like she was listening to something deep underground. Eli stopped showing up to school. Talia texted him. He replied once. I hear it breathing. Then nothing. She returned to Saint. Avila's one last time. Midnight. Alone. She stood before the hollow saint, looked into its mouth, and understood. It wasn't waiting for prayers. It was keeping them. Every whispered guilt, every muttered fear, every cruel laugh in the dark. It ate them. And when it grew too full, it exhaled. That's what had happened. Cam's selfie had opened it, brought it closer to the surface. The saint hadn't been screaming. It had been holding its breath until now. Talia knelt. She whispered a confession. Not a joke this time, not laughter. Real shame, real sorrow, real silence. The statue stirred, its head tilted, the mouth closed, just once, then opened again. Still. Waiting. Talia left the chapel. She never spoke of it again, but she never laughed at shadows, never joked about guilt, never said the words hollow saint out loud. Others forgot. The church is sealed now, the statue gone. But on Halloween nights you can hear it again, if you stand near the old cemetery fence and listen very closely. Not screaming, not praying, just breathing, in and out. There are some places that do not echo back, they only listen. And some statues do not depict the divine, they devour it. So if ever you kneel before something hollow, be careful what you confess. It might be the last breath you ever share. Such a terrible thing to happen. Don't you agree? Hey there, brave souls. Welcome back to the channel where your darkest fears come to life. If you're new here, I'm the Lady Grim Murmurs, your guide through the shadows of the unknown. But before we dive into tonight's chilling tale, I have to ask you something. Are you haunting my dreams? Because every night, I see shadows creeping around my bed, whispering to me, and the only way to banish them is for you to hit that subscribe button. How could you do this to me? Leaving me to face these nightmares alone? Don't you want to join our little family of thrill seekers? I promise, it's a hauntingly good time. Now, if you're ready to face the darkness, grab a blanket and turn off the lights. Because tonight, we're diving into a story that will make you question what lurks in the shadows. Lanterns light the way, yes, but what if the light itself is a trap? Tonight's tale takes us to a cemetery, where boys dare each other to wake the dead, and something far worse than a ghost answers. You'll want to keep a candle nearby, my dear, just in case the flame flickers. This is the story of the Bone Lantern. The cemetery was supposed to be locked after dark. That's what the sign said. Rusted, bent, zip-tied to the old iron gate. But the neighborhood kids knew better. There was always a gap at the rear fence, where the ivy grew thick and the land dipped just enough for a skinny body to slip through. On Halloween, they called it Dead Man's Trail. That year, 5 boys entered. Only one came back. It started like any dare does, bravado masking fear, laughter hiding nerves. Elliot brought the idea. Marcus brought the lighter. James brought his brother's flashlight. Leo brought nothing but noise. And Sam, the youngest, brought a sick feeling he couldn't shake. They huddled at the edge of the fence. Inside, tombstones leaned like tired teeth. Above them, clouds skimmed the moon, shredding the light like curtains. Elliot held up the prize, a black metal lantern with a ribbed bone handle. I took it from that antiques booth at the fair, he said, too proud. James squinted. Is that real bone? Probably. Gross, Leo said. Cool. Sam didn't say anything. The lantern was cold, even through Elliot's glove. It had no wick. No switch. Just a hollow socket where light should go. That's where the flame goes, Elliot said. Marcus lit the Zippo. There's no candle. You don't need one, Elliot replied. You speak the name. What name? Elliot smiled. Whoever you want to see. Sam's chest tightened. He didn't want to see anyone. Not really. But Leo was already climbing the fence, shouting, Deadman's Trail, baby! And they followed. Because of course they did. The lantern felt heavier as they passed into the dark. The cemetery had changed. More trees. The path was narrower. The names on the stones were in no language they recognized. They stopped in a clearing. Moss-covered statue, crumbling mausoleum, grave dust in the air. Elliot held up the lantern. Say it, he whispered. James hesitated. Who? Your brother, Elliot grinned. He died last year, right? That's not funny. Elliot turned to Sam. Your dad, then? Sam stepped back. I'm not playing. But Elliot was already whispering. No one heard the name. But they felt the breath. The lantern ignited. Not flame. Light. Pale, blue-white, cold as snowfall. It hovered inside the bone cage. Alive. And then the graves opened. Not loudly. Not with drama. Just shifting. Soil settling. Hands emerging. James screamed first. Leo tripped backward. Elliot laughed until he didn't. Until one of them looked up. Not a ghost. Not a skeleton. But a child. Hairless, skinless, hollow eyes. No mouth. Just a glowing cavity in its chest. A light matching the lantern. Sam turned to run. The path was gone. The headstones now surrounded them. Too close, stacked like walls. And more were climbing free. Elliot dropped the lantern. The flame stayed, hovered in place. It began to hum. The children, or whatever they were, crawled toward it. Mouthless, eyeless, starving for something. As each one reached the light, it flickered, and so did they. Their chests brightened, then burst, like stars going nova. One by one they fed. Sam screamed, "Turn it off!" "I can't," Elliot sobbed. James was gone. Leo silent. Only Elliot and Sam left. And then Elliot stepped into the circle of light. He whispered again. A name Sam didn't hear. But the lantern did. It pulsed. And Elliot's chest glowed briefly before splitting wide. He fell, still smiling. Sam stood alone. The flame floated toward him. He shook his head. No. It paused. Waited. Like a question. Sam turned. Walked. The headstones parted. The path returned. He didn't run. Didn't cry. Not until he passed back through the fence and found the streetlights still on and the world unchanged. They never found the others. Sam never returned to the cemetery. But sometimes, on quiet October nights, he sees the glow. Not in the sky. Not in the distance. But in windows. In mirrors. In the chests of strangers passing him by. And once, in a dream, he woke to find the lantern at the foot of his bed. Burning gently. Whispering someone's name. He didn't recognize it. Not at first. But then he said it aloud. And the light grew stronger. Curiosity carries a cost, my dear. Especially when the light you seek isn't yours to carry. So if you find a lantern with a handle of bone, do not light it. Do not speak. And above all, do not name the dead. Such a terrible thing to happen, don't you agree? Every house begins with a sketch, a floor plan, a vision. But what if the walls build themselves? What if the blueprints were drawn by something older, deeper, and far more patient than any architect? Tonight's tale concerns a house, a child's drawing, and a knife that never quite stays still. This is the story of The House That Carves Itself. Milo Porter's grandfather left him the house in his will. They hadn't spoken in 10 years. Still, Milo accepted. Free real estate in a housing market like this. You don't question it. Even if the house stood in the woods. Even if the deed came with a handwritten note. Don't bring anything sharp inside. The house sat alone at the end of a gravel road, half swallowed by vines and oak shadows. Built in the 1930s, but with details that felt much older. Narrow windows, warped shutters, a spire that didn't match the blueprints. It looked taller on the inside than out. Milo didn't remember much of the house from childhood. Just flashes, the smell of cedar, the shape of the doorknobs, a sound like carving, always carving. And the attic. He'd always been afraid of the attic. He moved in on October 10th. By the 11th, the walls had changed. It wasn't dramatic. A door that hadn't been there before. A hallway just slightly longer. The pantry deepened. He blamed poor memory. Old houses settle. Old houses shift. Right? But then he found the first knife. Tucked behind the basement breaker panel. Its blade was carved from something pale, not steel, bone maybe. Its handle was smooth, warm to the touch. Wrapped around it was a scrap of parchment, with a child's handwriting. This one opens the wall. He dropped it immediately. Didn't tell anyone. But that night the pantry was gone, replaced by stairs, leading down. He didn't go down. Not that night. On October 15th, he found the second knife. This one behind the bathroom mirror. Shorter, serrated, black hilt. Note attached. This one makes the window. He laughed nervously. No windows changed. But the next morning the mirror was a window, looking into somewhere else. Not outside. Not inside. Just dark. And deep. He took the knives outside. Tried to bury them. The soil spat them back up. Literally. Unearthed by morning, placed neatly on the welcome mat. He began to dream. Blueprints unfolding on their own. Walls rearranging. Rooms forming around something central, something waiting. Something sketched in red. October 20th. He found the attic key, wrapped in an old sock under the sink. He hadn't remembered locking the attic. He hadn't even known there was a lock. He opened it. Inside, a desk. On the desk, a stack of drawings. Old, faded, crayon on yellow paper. His name in the corner, written in shaky 6-year-old letters. Each drawing was a floor plan. Some familiar, some impossible. Rooms with no exits, spiral hallways, a stairwell that led to the hurt room. And in every corner, tiny knives, drawn carefully, numbered. He flipped to the last page. A note. Don't forget the knives, they help it grow. He slammed the attic door shut, locked it, moved a dresser in front of it. But the next morning the dresser was gone, and in its place a door, carved with the same shapes from his childhood drawings. He tried to leave. Car wouldn't start. Phone dead. No signal. The woods too quiet. No birds. No wind. That night, a new knife appeared on his pillow. No note this time. But the blade was wet, and the hallway smelled like sawdust and something sweet. He checked the floor plan he'd printed the day he moved in. It no longer matched. Now there was a second staircase, a cold room, a trapdoor under the guest bed, and a room labelled Heart. He found it on Halloween. The Heart Room. Behind what used to be the coat closet. It pulsed slightly. The walls weren't wood anymore. They were flesh-like, wet to the touch, and in the centre, embedded in a pedestal of bone, a final knife. Unlike the others, this one had no blade, just a hilt, carved with his name. He reached for it, and the room sighed, a sound of relief, or hunger. He dropped it, ran upstairs, but the house tilted toward the heart. Every room now led downward. The stairs rearranged themselves. Knives appeared in his pockets. One was tattooed on his arm when he woke. The drawings in the attic multiplied. The last day he found a mirror. Etched across it. Every room is a wound, you made this, finish carving. No one's seen Milo since November 1st. But hikers say the house is still there. Different now. Always changing. Some swear it grows taller each time they pass. And if you go at night, if you knock, the door opens. Inside it smells like cedar. And carving. Always carving. Every space we live in remembers us, but some remember too well. So if you inherit an old house with strange corners, strange blueprints, or strange blades, do not unpack, do not explore, and never, ever finish the design. Such a terrible thing to happen. Don't you agree? Family dinners can be uncomfortable. Awkward small talk, strange traditions, too much staring. But sometimes the discomfort is more than social. Sometimes it's instinct. Tonight's tale brings us to a table already set, where the meat is rich, the hosts don't blink, and the guest should never have RSVP'd. This is the story of Ghoul's Night In. Lena always hated meeting the parents. She was fine with awkward. She could fake smile and compliment wallpaper with the best of them. But this felt different. Dread hung over her like static, not nerves, instinct. Jasper had asked her 3 times if she was sure. She said yes. He smiled, too big, and said, "They'll love you, I mean that literally." The house was older than it looked. Stone facade, iron gate, a rusted lantern above the door flickering with real flame. Inside, dark wood, no lights, and a scent Lena couldn't place. Not rot, not food, something in between. Jasper's mother met them at the foyer. Tall, hair in a bun so tight it looked painful, her cheekbones sharp enough to slice bread. "You brought her," she said, eyes locked on Lena. Jasper nodded. She said yes. The woman stepped aside. "Then let's eat." They passed a mirror in the hallway. Jasper didn't cast a reflection. Lena laughed nervously. "Old mirror?" No one replied. The dining room was long and low lit. Candles flickered in ornate holders. A massive table dominated the space, already set for 8, even though Jasper said it was just the family. Lena froze when she saw the centerpiece. A roast of something. It smelled incredible. And wrong. Rich, metallic, like blood and butter. Jasper's father entered, followed by 2 others, cousins maybe. No one introduced themselves. They all looked close, pale skin, black eyes, mouths just a little too wide. None of them blinked. Not once. They sat. The mother carved. No prayer. No grace. Only silence and silverware. Lena stared at her plate. The meat was rare, marbled, fibrous in a way beef wasn't. "Is this?" she began. Jasper touched her hand. "Just eat, don't ask." She cut a small piece. The flavor exploded, salt, iron, spice. She swallowed. The entire table exhaled in unison. They all started eating after that. No one spoke. No one drank. Only the sound of chewing, wet and slow. The cousins kept watching her, smiling, like they knew something she didn't. She tried to make conversation. "So Jasper tells me—" "We know what Jasper tells you," the mother interrupted. Her voice was flat. The father chuckled. "He always did like the sweet ones." Lena pushed her plate away. Jasper whispered, "It's better if you finish. It means you're staying." "I am staying," she said. "I drove 3 hours." His eyes met hers. "No, I mean staying." The cousins stood. The room dimmed. One of them tilted their head and sniffed. "She's ripe," he said. The mother smiled. The father folded his napkin. "Let's begin." Jasper stood too. "Don't!" Lena hissed. He touched her shoulder. "I chose you," he said softly. "Be grateful. It means I love you." Then he stepped aside. One cousin raised a silver blade. Not a weapon, more like a surgical knife. Lena bolted. The candlelight flickered. The walls seemed to lean. But she made it to the front door, and it opened. Too easily. The air outside hit like a scream. The world had shifted. The moon above was too large. The sky, wrong. No stars, only slow-turning clouds like smoke in water. She ran. Through the gate. Down the gravel. Until she hit asphalt. Lights. A gas station. Inside, fluorescent bulbs buzzing. An old man behind the counter. He looked up. His eyes were normal. She exhaled. "I need help, please. They tried to—" He held up a hand. "I know where you've been." "What?" "You smell like meat." She took a step back. He leaned in. Sniffed. "Too late now, they've tasted you." He gestured to a candy rack. "Take something sweet, it slows the change." Lena didn't know what to do. She grabbed a peppermint. Ate it. Nothing changed. But the old man smiled. "Buys you a day or 2? She didn't go back to her apartment. She drove until sunrise. The roads kept looping. The sky wouldn't brighten. And her hunger grew. The meat from the dinner haunted her. The taste. The texture. She craved it. Nothing else satisfied. Not candy, not bread, not water. Just meat. Raw. Red. The next night she returned to the house. Knocked once. The door opened. Jasper waited. "Thought you might." She stared at him. "I'm changing." "I know." "Fix it." "I can't." The table was set again. Same roast. Same candles. Same place, reserved for her. She sat. They smiled. And this time, she blinked less. "They say there's a house in the hills where the lights are always low and the air always smells like blood and butter. People go missing nearby. Campers, hikers, drivers. No one finds them. Only whispers. Only bones. They say you are what you eat. But what if the meal chooses you? So if you're ever invited to dinner by a family that doesn't blink, be polite, be kind. But whatever you do, don't clean your plate. Such a terrible thing to happen. Don't you agree? There are woods you don't map, paths you don't name, because if you name them, they remember you. Tonight's tale follows a curious girl and an old forest, where roots reach deeper than memory, and witches don't wear hats. They grow them. This is the story of the Root Witch of Osgood Hollow. Hazel Blackthorn wasn't scared of the woods. Not even Osgood Hollow. She grew up hearing stories, sure, about the witch who lived beneath the hill, who fed on secrets and carved her bones into charms. But those were just that, stories. Hazel was 16, rational, sharp. She brought a knife on hikes. She marked trees with chalk. She didn't believe in witches. The Hollow was a nature reserve on paper, 200 acres of old-growth forest in Vermont, closed to hikers since the 90s. But the fences were easy to slip through, and the air felt different inside, heavy, like wet leaves and breathing soil. Hazel loved it. She first found the hut in late October. Fog on the ground, branches bare, mushrooms blooming in clusters. She wasn't looking for it. One wrong turn, and there it was. A sagging dome made entirely of tangled roots and dirt, barely taller than a person. No door, no windows. It looked grown, not built. There was something hanging over the entrance, a braid of human hair and poppy stems. She laughed. Nice touch. Then went inside. It was warm, earthy, lit by phosphorescent moss. Shelves made of bone, bowls of teeth, dried flowers bundled like spells. In the center, a shallow pit filled with dark, pulsing roots. And resting above them, cradled like a cradle, was a tiny wooden box. She picked it up. It was warm. She opened it. Inside, a withered thumb wrapped in linen. She dropped it, heart hammering, suddenly dizzy. That's when the roots moved. She didn't remember leaving. One blink she was inside, the next, stumbling through fog, box still in her backpack. She didn't mean to steal it, but she didn't go back. That night her dreams were filled with thorns. She woke to soil under her fingernails. Over the next week, strange things happened. Vines grew under her bedroom window fast. Her hair began to knot with leaves she hadn't touched. A beetle emerged from her toothbrush. She buried the box in the woods behind her house. But the thumb returned, in her sock drawer, wrapped in fresh linen, still warm. Her mum started acting off, repeating herself, standing in doorways too long. Once, Hazel found her crouched in the garden, staring at a root with tears in her eyes. She didn't respond for a full minute, then whispered, "She's growing back." Hazel returned to the hollow. Daylight, no fog. This time she brought matches, but the hut wasn't there. Just trees. And in the dirt where it had been, a finger, newer, smoother, still twitching. She burned it anyway. The smoke smelled like rosemary and rot. That night her cat disappeared. In the morning she found paw prints in the ceiling plaster, and a tiny jawbone in her pillowcase. Hazel stopped sleeping. Started sketching the hut, over and over. She couldn't help it. It kept changing. Each time more roots, more layers. Sometimes it had eyes, sometimes a mouth. Halloween came. The vines grew faster. Up her house, around her legs in the shower. One tendril pushed through her window screen and tapped her on the forehead at 3:17 a.m. She screamed. Her mum didn't wake. No one did. The neighborhood was silent. The trees at the edge of town leaned closer. She knew what to do. She packed a shovel, salt, and her grandfather's axe. She went back. Through the fence, down the trail, to the hollow. The hut had returned. Twice as big now, beating like a heart. A mouth had opened at its base, not carved, not built. Grown. And inside, a voice. "You wore me once, now wear me again." She raised the axe. Roots caught her arm, wrapped her ankle. She cut them, salted them. But more came. From the trees, from the ground, from inside her. The hut's mouth widened. A tongue of roots unrolled. On it a mask, twisted, bark and bone, lined with teeth. It smelled like her room, like her blood, like home. She turned to run, but the path was gone. Only woods, every direction, and the trees all leaned in. She never made it out. The search party found nothing, just root patterns in the dirt that looked vaguely human. But the hut still stands. And sometimes hikers say they hear breathing underground. And if you look closely at the vines, you'll see hair woven in. And maybe, if you're quiet enough, she'll speak to you. Just don't answer. Don't follow. And don't take anything that grows warm in your hands. The storyteller's outro, Lady Grim Murmurs. Witches don't always fly, dear. Sometimes they grow, slow, patient, rooted in stolen memories and tangled guilt. So if the woods whisper, don't answer, don't dig, and above all, don't steal what grows in the dark. Such a terrible thing to happen, don't you agree? There are many creatures that creep and crawl when the veil thins on Halloween night, but not all of them come from forests, graves, or dreams. Some rest right above us, waiting for someone to look up. Now let me tell you about the girl who dared to do just that. This is the tale of the rooftop dare, the shattered bell, and the creature carved from forgotten prayers. It's called Don't Feed the Gargoyle. The bell tower at St. Leontius had been padlocked for decades, ever since a fire blackened the choir loft below. But to the seniors at Kessler High, it was tradition. Climb the rotting stairs on Halloween night, reach the rooftop, and snap a photo beside the infamous gargoyle. Only one rule: don't touch it, don't feed it. Nobody knew what feeding even meant. Some chalked it up to urban legend, others claimed a Latin inscription inside warned against it. But no one had ever really made it to the top. Until tonight. 4 of them crept through the side gate. Harper, who planned the whole thing. Gabe, who brought the bolt cutters. Tyrell, who brought the weed. And Lena, who was just trying to fit in. Lena wasn't from town. She'd transferred 3 months ago and had no childhood memories of St. Leontius's shadow creeping over the playgrounds. She didn't know that the gargoyle once wasn't there, not until the fire. The bolt cutters snapped the rusted chain clean. The door groaned open. Inside, the air was cool and wrong. Each footstep sent a cough of ash or dust floating into the beam of Tyrell's flashlight. "This place smells like burned books," Harper muttered, pulling her hoodie tighter. "Smells like memory." They climbed. The stairs narrowed as they rose, spiraling around the bell shaft. Stone angels lined the walls, weeping or praying. On one of the steps, Lena spotted something etched in flaking red paint. "Ne cibo gargoylum." Do not feed the gargoyle. "Guys, wait." Lena ran her fingers over the words. "It says not to—" Yeah, we know," Gabe called from above. "We're not here to feed it, just take a pic." Lena hesitated, then followed. The higher they went, the colder it became. She thought she saw frost feathering across the stone. The bell chamber yawned open, and there it was. The gargoyle, perched on the edge of the parapet, hunched over as if forever snarling at the city below. Its wings were folded like the sleeves of a monk's robe, its claws curled over the ledge, and its mouth, open in a gaping grin, held teeth. Real teeth, yellowed, some still blood-stained. Lena froze. "Why does it have teeth?" Gabe was already posing beside it, holding up his phone. "Because it's metal. Come on, you're up next." Harper stepped closer behind it. Tyrell handed her a half-eaten Snickers from his pocket as a joke. "Here you go, stone boy," Harper teased, pressing the candy into its cracked palm. "Bon appetit." Lena's stomach dropped. The inscription, the rule. "Wait, don't." The stone hand moved, just slightly, enough to curl shut around the chocolate. Everyone screamed. Tyrell dropped his flashlight. It clattered down the stairwell, taking the only real light with it. They scrambled back toward the stairs, but the bell rang. The great bronze bell that hadn't chimed since the fire rang out once, then twice, then again louder. 3 times. With each toll, the tower seemed to shrink. The shadows grew longer. The angel statues now wore different expressions, no longer weeping, but watching. "Run!" Harper shouted, shoving Gabe forward. But the stairs weren't the same. Instead of spiraling down, they now twisted inward, a tunnel of ribs and brick, leading deeper, into stone, into something that should not have fit inside a tower. Lena looked back. The gargoyle was gone. They weren't in the church anymore. The stone hall they ran through pulsed slightly. The walls breathed. Candles lined the edges, hundreds of them, flickering in rhythms too intentional to be wind. "Where the hell are we?" Tyrell gasped. Harper was crying now. "It fed. We broke the rule. It wasn't a joke." At the far end of the corridor was a door carved to resemble a mouth, with the knob in the place of a tongue. Lena stepped forward, something in her remembering what her grandmother once told her. Some things were built to guard, others were built to be fed. Know the difference, child. This thing, this gargoyle, wasn't just a statue. It was a hunger carved from stone, a shape given to an idea, and someone, after the fire, had invited it in. When they entered this mouth door, they were inside the belfry again, or something like it. The bell hung in the centre, but it was twisted now, made of bone and teeth, and it dripped wax that hissed like breath. The gargoyle crouched behind it, bigger now, wetter, its stone no longer dry and cracked but slick, like it had only just been born. Tyrell backed away. "Nope, I'm done, I'm not—" It moved faster than anything that size should. With a single lunge, it drove its stone jaw into Tyrell's chest. The sound was wet. Tyrell didn't scream. He only gurgled as he was lifted off the ground and slowly petrified from the inside out, his skin going pale, then grey, then breaking into chunks of dusty rubble. Gabe screamed. Harper vomited. Lena stared. She noticed something then. The gargoyle was less cracked now, smoother, as though feeding didn't just keep it alive. It made it perfect. "We need to give it something else," Harper screamed. "Something to distract it." Gabe shoved her forward. "I'm not dying for this." The gargoyle watched him do it. And then it smiled, its face cracking into motion, its teeth now gleaming white. It didn't chase Harper, it chased Gabe. Lena ran. She didn't wait to see what happened to the others. She ran back the way they came, but the stairs no longer twisted. They rose now, steep and narrow, and at the top, a hatch. She pushed through and collapsed out onto the real rooftop. The cold night air hit her like a slap. When she turned, the gargoyle was perched on the ledge again. Still, unmoving. But it was different now. Harper's hoodie hung from its shoulders. Gabe's phone was lodged in its open mouth. And the Snickers bar, now mostly eaten, sat cradled in its hand. No one believed Lena's story. The police blamed the fire-damaged stairs for the disappearance of her friends. She transferred schools again. But every Halloween she dreams of the bell ringing 3 times. And sometimes she hears a chewing sound. They say gargoyles were meant to scare away evil. But what if, just once, evil wore the gargoyle's shape, to scare away the good? So next time you pass a cathedral, and a stone beast grins down at you, don't wave, don't joke, and whatever you do, don't feed the gargoyle. Such a terrible thing to happen. Don't you agree? Every Halloween has its games, costume contests, candy hunts, skeleton races, all harmless enough. But once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a different kind of game. One played with water, apples, and a wish. A game the devil himself once favoured. So come closer now, children of the harvest, and listen well to the tale of the devil's apple bobbing. It arrived overnight, like fog or regret. An empty gravel lot behind the old shopping centre, forgotten by zoning boards and teenagers alike, had suddenly bloomed into something crooked and wonderful. A banner flapped from rusted poles. Carnival de Ombre, one night only. No trucks, no lights, no generators humming. Just string lights that glowed amber without wires, and tents that smelled like cinnamon and scorched velvet. Zoe Brennan didn't mean to go. She was supposed to be babysitting her neighbour's twins, but the moment she heard the calliope music drifting across the cul-de-sac, something tugged at her spine. Not curiosity. Something older. Hunger. She told the twins to stay inside. She'd only be gone 15 minutes. The carnival was nearly empty. A few shadows drifted between tents. No one spoke. But at the centre, under the largest tent, stood a round wooden basin filled with black water. Floating in it were apples, dozens of them, red, green, gold, shiny, too shiny. A sign leaned nearby, hand-painted in curling red letters. "Bite the red one! Win a wish!" Zoe laughed nervously. Old school, she whispered. No way this is real. Behind her, someone chuckled. It was a boy, maybe 17, pale as a paper ghost with black eyes and a smile too wide for his face. No one's brave enough anymore, he said. They want candy, not consequences. Zoe raised an eyebrow. You work here? He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned over the basin, eyes locked to hers, and said, Wishes always cost something. But the red apple only takes what you hide. Zoe hesitated. The apple she saw floating near the centre was the reddest thing she'd ever seen. Deeper than blood, shinier than lacquer. It spun slowly like it was aware of her gaze. She knelt, hair brushing the water. It smelled like cloves and salt. She lunged, mouth open. Chomp. Her teeth sank in, cold, crisp sweet, and then she felt the wish. Not made, not whispered, pulled from her. A flicker of her thoughts, her fears, and a burning need. I wish they'd stop bullying me. She dropped the apple. It bobbed gently in the water, then sank like a stone. Behind her, the boy was gone. The tent was empty. The next morning, Zoe's phone blew up. Headlines, group chats, panic, a fire in the high school gym, a Halloween party gone wrong. 3 of the worst bullies, gone, burned. Nothing left but shoes. Zoe didn't go to school that day, or the next. Instead, she returned to the carnival. But it was still there. This time she wasn't alone. Kids from all over town had found it, as if it had called to them. Some dared each other to bob, some just watched. But every red apple that was bitten, someone vanished. Not always dead. Some just erased. From memory, from yearbooks, from photo albums, wishes came true. And something was taking the tab. Zoe tried to stop it. She yelled, pleaded. No one listened, until she saw her brother Toby in line. He didn't know what it was, just thought it was a game. Don't do it, she begged. It's not just a joke. The apples, they bite back. He frowned. You sound crazy. She knocked over the basin. The apples didn't spill. They floated in the air for a second, weightless, before dropping one by one back into the water. Behind her, the carnival boy appeared again. Rules are rules, he said cheerfully. You played. You won, Zoe's voice shook. Who are you? He smiled. His teeth were apple seeds. His breath smelled like rot. Let's say, I'm the one who brings the harvest. Souls for cider, flesh for fortune. He held out a final apple, redder than any before. It pulsed faintly. Bite this one, and undo it all. Zoe reached for it, then stopped. Behind her she heard Toby crying. He'd bitten a gold apple, not red. I just wanted to wish you'd stop being sad. Zoe turned. The carnival boy looked amused. How touching. She stared at the apple in her hand, then bit deep. The tent shook. The water boiled. Every wish screamed. Every sin roared. Every cost came due. Zoe woke on her front lawn. It was Halloween again. A year had passed. She remembered everything, but no one remembered her. The twins next door called her the old babysitter. Her parents never came home. She walked to the old lot. It was empty. But as she turned to leave, she saw a flicker of red, a single apple sitting in the grass. With a note. One more bite? You know the rules now, and so the basin waits. Somewhere out there behind some crumbling building, beneath some crooked tent, the devil's apples float still. Would you bite for a wish? Careful now, because every game has rules and every wish has a weight. Such a terrible thing to happen. Don't you agree?